Hiram Palmer here with the Daystar Ford postgame show from Charles A. Henry Field at Malmesser Stadium here in Hiram, Ohio, at the campus of Hiram College. First, the Hiram Terriers get their first win of the season here in Week 7. They ring the bell. Funny thing, just moments kind of before the game ended, the Hiram men's swimming team came out and rang the bell, and I got confused because I heard the bell ringing, and I looked, and the people over there were the men's Hiram swimming team. So congrats to them as well. Also picking up a win here today on homecoming weekend. It's homecoming festivities here from Hiram. But just to kind of go over some stats, Hiram played really well. They led 6-3 at halftime off 2 Chris Miller field goals, a 29-yarder and a 43-yarder. Both in the first quarter, the 43-yarder coming in the latter stages with 20 seconds left in the first quarter. And then as far as Sean Saheda goes, he had a really good game. He only threw 3 completions through the first half. He threw 3 more in the second half, finishing with 15 completions on 21 attempts. He threw 2 touchdowns and 207 yards. He was sacked twice, but I'll be honest, that Hiram offensive line held up pretty well all day. He only got sacked really kind of rolling out of the pocket and trying to make things happen downfield. So that Hiram offensive line held strong. Hiram kind of limited the penalties. They didn't do too bad in the penalty. Only 8 penalties for 75 yards. A lot of those kind of came in once the game was kind of out of reach. Not when you want to see penalties. You don't want to see penalties ever. But, some penalties that didn't really affect the total outcome of the game. Now, for Oberlin, they did get a couple scores in the second half to make it really interesting, especially in the fourth quarter. The final score ended up being 27-19. For the rest of the stats for Hiram, Jarvis Green, 5 receptions on 6 targets for 80 yards. His longest reception being 42 yards. That was also Tate's longest pass of the day. And then Raekwon Davis Hertford, 6 receptions on 7 targets. The only incompletion was a penalty that was called. He caught it, but a penalty erased the completion. So he did catch everything, but on the stats it says one non-catch for 95 yards and a touchdown. And then for that Hiram defense, Dylan Bolliker played lights out. 9 solo tackles, 3 assists for total 12 tackles. And then Gavin Cruiser had 7 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss. So overall, a really good complete win for Hiram. Their special teams did well. I mentioned Chris Miller doing a really good job kicking the ball field goal wise, but he also did a really good job punting. 2 punts for 64 total yards and a longest of 41 yards. So he did do a good job punting as well. And his second punt was kind of blocked, so obviously not the best total yards. But as overall, as a whole, Hiram gets a really big win. Defensively, they held Oberlin to only 17 rushing yards on 20 attempts, despite letting up 289 passing yards to Drew Nye. He went 34 of 55 passing, 2 interceptions. He also did throw 2 touchdowns. So, excuse me, making that Oberlin offense really one-dimensional and kind of force-feeding, his receivers the ball to create something to happen on offense for Drew Nye's receivers. Evan Smith-Rooks had 11 receptions for 88 yards. Colton Daniel had 7 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. And then Connor Steele had 6 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown as well. Wes Pensa had an all right day punting, 2 punts for 58 yards. And then defensively, Evan Elliott had 6 solo tackles, 7 total, 1 sack and a tackle for loss for him defensively. So it's not like Oberlin didn't play well. They just kind of got forced to play one-dimensional to this Hiram defense, and it paid dividends for Hiram, coming out with a 27-19 win. Hiram will travel to Worcester next Saturday, and then they will come back home on November 4th to play Wabash. I will be here for that one. Thank you guys so much for being Hiram Palmer with the Daystar Ford postgame show from Charles A. Henry Field at Malmesser Stadium.